Welcome to 90 Degree Turns. I'm your host, Trisha Marcus. Allow me to guide you into your own endless soul expansion as we connect to your heart, discover balance, awaken to healing, and embody your soul's deepest expression. For those of you hungry to expand your mind's beliefs and perspectives, welcome home. Tonight's guest, we have Patricia from the Keystone Channel. Patricia joins us from Amsterdam, the Netherlands. Her life path was a struggle, and during her years of healing, she learned a lot about different modalities involving mental, physical, and spiritual health. This path brought her to where she is today. She owns the Keystone Channel, where she interviews prominent people in the disclosure and truth movement about various topics, from healing to starseeds and everything in between. She is also a Beyond Quantum Healing BQH facilitator and life coach. Okay, hey everybody, welcome to 90 Degree Turns, where we expand your minds, beliefs, and perspectives. I am joined today with a new special guest. Her name is Patricia of the Keystone Channel. How are you today?
Hello, everybody. Thank you. I'm good. I'm very well.
It's so nice to have you.
Yeah, thank you. I'm very happy to be here, and yeah, it's great. And well, maybe you want me to present myself because for people that don't know,
Yeah.
so I'm Patricia. I have the Keystone Channel, which is on YouTube and Twitch and D Live, and I actually started out with politics, but it very quickly went to spiritual things and star seeds, things like that. And I'm myself am a clear cognizant, which is not much of a thing for others because you cannot prove it. Not that I mind, because for me it's just is there's this knowing inside where I always just figure out that things are what they are. And for the rest, I do a lot of interviews with people having experiences and things, and that's pretty much what I do. And next to that, I'm a BQH practitioner, which is like QHHC, but it's a bit more broad. And that's a lot of fun to help people heal, because I've done myself 15-year long healing of traumas and things. So yeah, that's kind of what I do in short.
Okay. Well, I know that your channel, when did you first start it? Was it just only a few years ago, right?
I started the 1st of January on 2020, and
Okay.
it actually started as a challenge for me because I am agoraphobic. I was rather for 27 years. So I haven't been around people at all for 2 decades. Also on the spectrum. So I didn't know it at the time, but now it all makes sense to me. And I thought to myself, you know what? I need to get back in the world. And so let's put a challenge for myself and start a channel. And then it started growing from there. So, and I live in Amsterdam, Holland, by the way. So for those that don't know or think my accent is weird.
Well, we
So
love our
yeah.
Amsterdam friends, and we're very happy to have you on the show today. I would love, because there's so much going on in the world, and you're new to the show here. We also don't really talk too deep into like politics here. We like to talk more about the spiritual expansion, the internal healing, right?
Yes.
So, if you don't mind mentioning how you kind of overcame your agoraphobia, how did that healing process happen for you? Because you started a
Oh,
channel, now you talk to so many different people. Like we're definitely in similar circles, and I feel like you have this light that you shine, so how did you get to your own healing journey? How was that?
Oh, that started out with a really rough period where I had addictions and depressions and anxiety and panic attacks and everything. And then one day I had this Reiki master over, and it turned out I had a house full of entities. So she cleared it out, and at that time it was like I gained a whole new window in my house because it was so much lighter. And from there, I started painting. And then at a certain point, I thought, you know what? I'm good. I can just get, I was on tranquilizers, antidepressants, all that stuff. And I thought, you know what, it's time I get rid of that stuff. And so I went to clinic, stayed there for 6 months. And from there, I went on with my journey. I went completely holistic. And this all started in 2012, actually. Well, no, a little bit before that. In 2010, that's when that Reiki healer came. And so from there, I just kept going and going and went through it all, the traumas, the healing, the physical healing, detoxing. And I went completely natural and holistic. And actually last year, July, I got off my antidepressants after 22 years, which was after 8 attempts, and figuring out how to get off it, because it's a really dangerous drug, and you get really like sick and paranoid and suicidal thoughts and stuff if you don't know what you're doing when getting off them. And so eventually I found the way to get off them really slowly. Certain supplements I used naturally to get the effects off, and so then I stayed for 2 years on a minimum dose. And then in July last year, I was like, okay, that's it, I'm going to quit. And I did. And to my surprise, without any problem. Although I have to say, over the past year, because I lived with my cats for 15 years, and they both passed. They passed in 1 week time. And that was so devastating, because remember, I wasn't in the world before that, and they were with me for 15 years. So all of a sudden, I found myself in such grief and changes in my life. But at the same time, I quit that, and I thought, you know what? I'm just gonna keep going. And that's what I did. And then I got the course into the Beyond Quantum Healing, which is the quantum hypnosis. And yeah, and here we are.
Well, I
And
applaud you. I applaud you so much for your courage to want to, first of all, change your life, because the hardest thing is to look at the things that we are so comfortable in not changing, right?
oh,
That's the
yeah,
hardest step. And for successfully to be able to get off of all the pharmaceuticals, that is, I know that not from personal experience, but from what I've heard other people that I know go through, it's a
yeah,
very difficult process to get off some of those
yeah,
things in a very safe way that doesn't debilitate you in a different way, so
yeah, that's the thing,
congratulations
right?
for being
Yeah,
able to
because
do that and doing it in a holistic way. Truly, that's amazing.
well, I found out, because obviously I was already busy for years with that, but then I found out the only way is the holistic way, because you need to first of all clean your whole body out of all the toxins, etc., and then slowly build your body back up to how it's supposed to be. And that really changed my life. Actually, the whole detox did change my life, especially the gut, the colon. That's where all your emotions are. This is where all your hormones are, seated and going to your brain. And I actually discovered it by accident, only to later find out that many people discovered it. And I discovered it by myself, but definitely for anybody wanting to go in that journey, if they're not already on their path, I mean, really, a detox is the first thing you want to do, because that already takes away so much of your issues, right?
Yes.
Mentally, it
Yes.
stabilizes you. Yeah.
Absolutely, because they also we're so often bombarded by different types of toxins, right? Whether it's in our air pollution, whether it's in the food that we eat, the soil that it's grown in, the monocropping that's happening. Like there's so much stuff that's being put into our earth, into modification, right? Into
Yeah.
processed foods. Like I find personally that the most important thing is to, yes, detox. Like I did a cleanse earlier this year in January for three
Yeah.
weeks. It's like I don't know if I could say it on here because the internet might not
Yeah.
appreciate what it's called, but it was like a 21-day process. You do it for 8 hours a day, and it worked. It goes down to the cellular level, which is
Oh, yeah.
really, really important, because your cells are like a living, breathing entity, right? Every
Yeah.
single one of the cells that we have is alive. It knows how to communicate, like the cells in your heart know their job, right? The cells in your stomach, with the cells in your gut. If you give them the proper environment, they know what to do right.
Yes.
So and then you think about the importance of like talking to your cells and like making sure that like not only are you like detoxing physically, right, but then maybe the head fog would clear, right, and then you can think better, you can think different thoughts that maybe aren't as dark,
Yes.
the different ideas come to you. It's so beautiful to see like the interconnected system.
Absolutely. That is actually a very important part that you're mentioning, because, it also is about your choices, about the way you think, changing your vocabulary, right? Not talking always in the negative, and, which, we tend to do when we are in that state of anxiety, depression, all that. We constantly bombard ourselves with punishments and words that are so negative, which in return, we actually talk to our own bodies and it makes us sick. So, there are so many layers to healing, and we need to apply them all, to be fair. But we need to be also realistic and just start with that, what makes you first feel comfortable to start changing that. And definitely detox was that for me, and I think it would be for everyone, actually, because it all starts in the body, right?
Yes. Yes. Well, I guess I would say it starts in the mind to take that step forward, right? In the
Yeah,
soul, like something is calling towards you to say, I need to do this experience.
yeah,
And then you let it like roll like a snowball, right? And it goes down the hill and you're like, oh wow, I found this, and it keeps on going. And now look where you are here today. It's
yes.
awesome. And so let's get into this BQT, beyond quantum
BQH,
BQH. So
beyond quantum healing.
I'm very familiar with Dolores Cannon's work, and I've read many of her books and different like hypnosis modalities, but beyond quantum healing is one I'm not familiar with. So
Well,
could you tell for our audience about what it is? And
it's the same pretty much, but we cannot call it that because QHC is a brand name, right? So you cannot, but the system is the same, the working is the same, the results are the same. It's just more flexible. So you can, for example, do it online without, having to be one-on-one, especially with the COVID thing. So over the years, people started developing their own systems, and then they found out, well, you can make it more flexible. You can actually apply other things than just doing the protocols that Dolores Cannon made. And
yes.
so, and so you can also apply your own skills. For example, this is interesting. I have a new skill, which I discovered that when people were talking to me or tell their stories during their hypnosis, I literally saw what they spoke about and more. And so I thought, well, maybe it's just my imagination being very rich, right? But I also had it outside of that. So when people would tell me a story, I would literally see what they were talking about, like the environment, everything. So at a certain point, I thought, you know what? I want to know if what I actually see is, if that it coincides with their story. And it was spot on every single time. And I was like, well, this is interesting. And so then I started doing these sessions. And before they actually start talking about it, I already saw it. And so I tested it by actually making my questions in a way, for example, saying like, okay, what surrounds you? And I already kind of knew what was surrounding them. And every single time they were spot on. They explained exactly what I saw. And so this developed in literally a couple of months to a very strong thing. And so I didn't know it first because, I thought it was just my imagination, but no, it's literally that. And it becomes more detailed now. So I can see what they're wearing. And even if somebody telling an anecdote, I can see the whole environment that they're talking about.
Wow.
And yeah, it's really cool. But so when you do these sessions, everybody has their own skill, and you can apply your own skills within that, which only make the healing stronger for the person that you facilitate. So what we're really doing as facilitators is you ask the questions for them that they need to ask or that they want to know about their lives. And, and you take them to a journey to different lifetimes, and but also healing and getting them to connect with their higher self. So it's pretty much like the QHHT, but it can be a bit more broader, so to speak.
And it makes sense because I feel like when Dolores Cannon, she was a pioneer in
Yeah.
her field, right? When she did it, there was nobody else doing anything like that.
No.
Not even remotely close to it. So naturally, things are going to evolve, right, and progress. And so
Yeah.
there's different modalities that can do things that maybe she wouldn't ever consider doing because the need didn't arise to do certain things within hypnosis, right? That
Yeah.
just different needs of the time,
Exactly.
So
Like, for example, they can only do it like one-on-one live. And Candace Croman, she actually made this modality, and she decided, wait a minute, we can do this online. And so, I only have sessions online through Zoom. So you can help people all over the world. It doesn't have to be limited to, you know, the place where you are. Because at the time, I remember before BQH, I did the QHHC and I had to travel all to the other side of the country. Now, Holland is not that big, but still, and it's not always a facilitator near you. And so now you can actually do it online. So
sweet.
yeah,
And
it's
so do you offer client sessions and stuff on a
oh
website
yeah,
or okay.
yeah,
Cool. What's the
yeah.
website? So
So
we can plug it in below in the bio.
yeah, I have a website. It's called Awakening to Healing, and there people can book a session. And I have seen such great results. There was this woman; she had like insomnia for so long, and in that session we went through this lifetime actually, which was pretty crazy because usually you go to past lives. No, we ended up in this life, and there was this trauma. So I guided her through that and just healed that part. And then she didn't have the insomnia anymore. It was gone. So, it can really perform miracles. And I did it myself as well before I even was a facilitator. And that's why I was so enthusiastic about it, because it did so much for my journey as well.
Wow, that's beautiful. I'm glad that you're able to take your personal experience of it, and now help others do the same thing. It's
Yeah,
amazing what we can heal when we go to the root core of our issues, right? Like when we find out whether it's in this life or like a past life or like a simultaneous life, because it's all kind of I feel like it's all
absolutely.
happening right now, you know. The
Yes.
changes that will immediately occur when you get to
Yeah.
the core of an
Yeah,
issue.
because everything is in the cell memory, and you can also
Yes,
recall
yes,
that.
yes.
And people need to be willing, obviously, and be open to it, because there's many left brain people, analytical, which I actually am as well. But I've done so many sessions and done on me as well. So I'm now, I'm under in like very quickly. But at the end of the day, it's really like a very deep meditation. You just don't have to do anything. I facilitate it for you. So, you can have a whole list of questions and I can ask them through your higher self. And it's really fascinating how that works.
Wow. Can I ask you what's some advice you would give to someone that has a harder time going under, like kind of just releasing all their mind thinking and
Well, I do exercises with them and see if they can, like imagination, for example. You can ask somebody, okay, just close your eyes and imagine a door. And so now describe the door to me. And so it may look like you just, make it up, but that's okay. You need to make it up. But the thing that you make up is not a coincidence, right? Otherwise, you can make up anything. But usually, when you let go of that control of wanting to control the whole thing, then usually spontaneously something comes up. So somebody can say, oh, I see a blue door. And what does the handle look like? And then you open the door and what's behind it, and just go for it, right?
just see what
And
happens. Yeah.
yeah, let your intuition go. If something comes up, go for it. Don't be shy about it. And so that's kind of how it works. So once somebody goes then under, they practically do the same thing. And you need to let go and just give over to it, just like you would do in a meditation, pretty much.
Wow. Well, thank you for definitely explaining that, because I know there's many people probably interested in doing the different hypnosis sessions. I know they're a little worried, like, how does it go? What happens? So I appreciate
Yeah.
the thorough
Yeah, many
explained
people,
understanding of it, you know?
yeah, many people are, oh, hypnosis, oh, I'm gonna lose all control. No, you can at all times just get out of it if you want to, because hypnosis is not something that somebody else controls. You you decide to just go with it, and obviously you need to trust the person, right? So, but sometimes people are very, because they see on TV, oh, that's hypnosis, and now somebody can do with me whatever they want. It doesn't work like that, really.
That's the
It
Hollywood version, right? That makes
Yeah,
it
yeah,
seem like
exactly.
someone's gonna just make you go somewhere and then you're in the floor.
Yeah,
Like, no, it doesn't happen that way. It's
yeah.
not, it's nothing like what TV portrays it. But it's interesting, right? Because the media and the television will show you one way, but the truth of it is actually the exact opposite. Like the
Exactly. And who knows,
exact opposite.
maybe they did it exactly because of that, right? So
Mhm.
that people get scared of it and afraid. But there's really, and especially in these times, everybody that actually follows your channel, they probably meditate anyway. So, there's nothing to be afraid of. But it is important that you obviously trust the facilitator, and that you get, you have a connection. And that's very important, because the better it becomes, right?
Yes, yes. Cool. Well, what else do we want to chat about then? Because I know that you have a wealth of information and you talk to so many different people, and I really feel like it's interesting to get your perspective because you're in Amsterdam and I'm here in Chicago in the States here. So there's so much going on in the world. Where do we want to take it?
Oh, wow. I mean, literally, I see the whole world going in sync with the chaos.
Yeah.
Uh, if we can say it's in sync, well, it is in sync. The chaos is everywhere, right? It's a big struggle. Even I struggle, because now today, the 24/7 propaganda of today is war. Okay, so all you have to do is just open any social media, and the first thing you see is Ukraine, and I'm like, and so you need to really contain yourself sometimes, because we all get triggered by certain things, and we're just fed up by it all. And so it's very important to find that balance, and I guess we're all searching for it, and sometimes we just fall off the wagon again, and we get all triggered, and then we go back on, and it's like, oh, wait a minute, no, breathe, right? And so I find that we're worldwide in that battle, kind of. And so it's very interesting to see. It really doesn't matter what country you live, it's everywhere the same. Well, maybe America is a bit more extreme with the wokeness and all that stuff. But, I do believe Americans have also a lot more programming than, you know, countries in Europe, because first of all, we're much older, and I do believe they did one big, massive experiment on America.
Yeah, I agree. I think the United States is absolutely the
Oh,
world's experiment would be in America. And not that there aren't programs that every country has to deal with. They're even
yeah,
deep in even more deep seated
yeah,
like things to evolve and change, but yeah, the United States, I absolutely believe, yes, it's an
yeah. It's
entire
a
experiment for the world to see what will happen, and a lot of it's all manufactured, right? You see all
yeah,
the, not to get too political, but like all the things that are going on, like you said, you turn on any social media, the first thing you hear about is Ukraine. And people, yes, obviously it's sad, it's very sad that people
yeah,
are being harmed, and any side, I don't think anybody on this earth wants this war.
yeah.
To
And
be very fair,
at
I
the
don't think
moment,
anybody wants this. Russians don't
of
want it.
course not.
Nobody wants this war, but there are political systems and there are people who, why do you go to war, right? We can look at it from that way. Why do
Right.
people go to war? Or why do
Eh,
the elite ask the public to go to war? For resources, right? For money, for political power of some sort. That's
exactly.
it. That's it.
And
Nobody,
now they
it's not
trigger
about for the people.
people to get all emotional with videos from, oh my God, there's a civilian in Ukraine that gets, and so everybody gets triggered
And then
emotionally.
everyone shares it. Yeah. And you think about what it does to your vibration, right? Because this
Oh
just
gosh,
happened
yeah,
not long ago. This is very recent news, right? But
yeah,
it's entirely, it's manufactured, and you don't know what's true. You see a crisis actors happen all the time for all these
Yeah.
other big events that happen in the United States. Crisis actors
And
are a
this
very
is,
popular thing, and I'm not saying that people aren't getting hurt. There are
oh,
real
yeah.
people getting hurt. There's real harm happening to the collective of humanity
Oh,
because
yeah.
of not what they want, but because of what the higher powers that are up there who are controlling the war existence of it, right?
Yeah.
I'm not saying this isn't a real thing that's happening, but we have to use, like you're saying, find that balance, because
And
if you
even if you do nothing all day, right? You don't have a job, anything, you still have to focus constantly. If I want to find a video on a certain topic spiritually, you cannot escape that you encounter anything that might, that might stop you and say, oh, wait a minute, let me just check that quickly. And then you get all triggered. And before you know, you forgot what you were actually looking for, because, it's designed that way. And so we need to be constantly focused on, okay, wait a minute, what am I doing here? I'm lowering my vibration. Stop that right now. So you need to constantly monitor yourself, because I do believe the AI, on internet, and it really draws you in.
the
It's
apps are meant
very,
to. The apps,
yeah,
all the applications, the social engineering, they're all designed, absolutely designed to garner your attention and essentially take your energy, take your focus. I mean, you look at
yeah,
what happens to kids now, their attention spans are so much, like, it gets lower and lower every single year because the apps are designed to make you want quick gratifications.
yeah,
It's completely socially engineered, and it's incredible. Like the TikTok algorithm, it's the most advanced algorithm I've ever seen, ever. Like
yeah,
Instagram doesn't
yes.
compare, Facebook doesn't compare. Like the algorithm and how particular they are with
Oh,
what they
wow.
feed you on your For You page. And like the phones are always listening, right? It
I
doesn't
don't
matter.
even have that. I don't even have TikTok, but I do
That's
even see it
good. You should.
on
It's
YouTube,
very incredible though. The
yeah, because now
algorithm.
they make videos about TikTok, and I'm like, oh, okay, let me watch this just quickly, right? And before you know it, you're lost. And
Yes.
you literally need to focus on your priorities right now. And it's a job. It's literally a job, but it's not a job for money, it's a job for your health. It's a job for your energy to keep it high. And it is hard, but it's like it feels sometimes like an uphill battle. But at the same time, if we just keep focusing on that big picture, right? Where do we want to go in the world? Oh, all right, let me just stop this right here, because it's not about me. It's not about my feelings. It's about where are we going from here, right? Worldwide.
As a
And so
collective.
in order to be part of the solution, we do need to constantly be focused to keep that vibration high. I think that is our first priority right now. And I do see these tables turns right now, to be honest, right?
I feel the same way. I feel that things are going, it's like a slow but consistent and persistent, like you can call it an awakening, right? It's slow and persistent, but it is going to somewhere. The consistency of it is going
Yeah,
up and up and up. And just to circle back real quick to the whole idea of social media, it's not that social media is the evil entity, right? It's the tool. So if you
yeah,
can learn to cultivate it the same way you would cultivate the inside of you, that you were say, okay, like let's look at the thoughts coming through. Where's this thought coming from? Same thing with social media. If I don't want to look at something, you can choose to
yeah.
consciously use the programs and say skip over
Even
it
if
or
you get
say,
drawn in
yeah,
by this
you can.
AI thing, because I've experienced it, literally being drawn in by AI.
Weird.
It was so strong, and I was like, no, right? As soon as I noticed it, and
Be
this is
conscious of it
why,
though, right? The awareness
yeah,
of
yeah,
what is happening, which is the most important thing. And so
exactly,
yes, to go to your point that there's things are happening through the world, and you have to think of, like, if the media controls like your emotions, then they control the cells in your body, right?
yes,
So if we're able to step away from that and make a division of within yourself, like this is the media and what they say, but who am I? If you know yourself, then
yeah,
you won't be as I guess infiltrated, right? Or as impacted. We're human, so there's going to be ups and downs, but
yeah.
it's the importance of knowing the internal self, right?
Yeah, I would say that actually everybody today should start with, when they wake up, the first thing to do, put your intention for the day. What is my goal? What do I want for the world? Okay, I want a better world, then make sure I'm not going to be, going to be caught in that trap. And it's so important, because if you do that first thing in the morning, you're actually already solving your whole day for 50%, because it does stay in your consciousness. And yeah, I definitely need to do that for myself as well. And it it just saves me a lot of time of monitoring myself all day long, right? If you set that intention
Yes.
first thing, waking up, it will help.
Yeah, and the power of intention is huge, right? Everything that we do in life, it's either due to a lack of intention or intention, right? So if we're able to focus from the start of the day and say, okay, like not just all the goals you want to do, but let's say I am choosing to take care of myself today. I'm going to go to the gym, or I'm going to eat like not processed food, right? I'm going to choose yourself,
Yeah,
and obviously the responsibilities you have around you with a different, it's consciously choosing
yeah,
what you want to do in that day. And then you add that and all these little baby steps of every day, then a week, and then a month, and a year, you get to completely transform, like
yes,
like look
absolutely.
look how you started your channel. You said you started in 2020. It's 2022 now. Like you took a step to
Oh my
start the
God. And
channel.
it actually feels so much further away, because I was so shy, and I was so worldly strange. I was not socially polluted at all, and I'm still not. Um, though it sometimes get difficult, because all of a sudden you interact with a lot of people, which I didn't do at all before, right? But these 2 years, because it's been now 2 years, and oh my God, they passed really fast, but at the same time, it seems so far away. 2020, 1st of January, when I started. And so I made a lot of progress in that. And but yeah, it's definitely, if I can do it, anybody can do it. Literally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's part of the human experience, right? Is to let people know, like, by our own accomplishments individually,
Yeah.
we can show others. I know with starting 90-degree turns, this was also a huge like challenge for myself, because I was very, very nervous to speak on camera. And so I started this because I wanted to get over my fear, and I wanted to connect. I wanted to like connect with other people, that I
Yes.
connect with the others, right? We're all trying to find the others. And so the way I
Your
um
tribe.
my tribe, yeah. And so I'm like, okay, well, how do I do it? Okay, the internet is connected to everybody else. And I had this like knowing that if I start something like this, that my life will be completely different in a year. And it
Yeah.
absolutely changed. In 1 year, my life was so different. And now years later, like the opportunities that have come about from just starting a YouTube channel, I could have never, like, I dreamed like, oh, I want to be a speaker, or oh, I want to do this and that. And now I've
Yes.
gotten to speak at events. I've gotten to like co-host events. Like there are things that come into your life when you just take that step. You take the leap of
Yeah.
faith, and then you trust that like the net will appear, right? And
Yes.
things have so positively changed, and I'm sure for you too, even amidst everything that's going on in the world, like there are successes that we should be happy with, that even
Yeah.
on a small scale, and let's talk about that. What about success? Like, do you celebrate the little moments in your life?
I do. And also, and this is very important, right? Because many people think, oh, yeah, but you've got already this success on your YouTube. Well, I don't really, because I only have, what, 8,000 followers, but it's not about that, right? And so I have this card in my toilet that I always look at, and it says, um, just take the first step. You don't have to see the whole staircase. And that's exactly because I literally started, for example, my channel just for a personal challenge, only to get where I'm now, having all these interviews with people like James Gilliland, Peter Slattery, Daryl James, and all these people, right? And which you obviously know as well. But you never think about that when you start. You start with something small. And so I definitely learned that part. It's like, you just take the first step. You don't need to see the whole staircase. And this is literally with everything that you do, because otherwise we make it so difficult for ourselves by doubting, thinking, and this and that. No, just start. Just do whatever, and it will roll on from there. I do believe the universe just, brings it to you as long as you stay positive, as long as you just stay in the moment, especially things just come on your path and you're like, oh, wait, what? I didn't even I didn't even plan any of it, right? And so just like you and doing these events and things like that. And before you know it, you're, you know, and many is interesting because I used to watch at the time before I start my channel, Red Pill, and he had so many guests on, call-ins, and I used to call in, and right there when I did a call-in, I actually on the spot decided I start a channel, and I said it out loud, so I couldn't go back, right?
Yeah.
So I had to start.
Accountability.
Exactly. And so and now it's 2 years further, and there's so many people that actually at the time called in like regulars. They all have a channel now. And so he was kind of like an example, because we thought, if he can do it, then and by the way, it really doesn't matter. It's only the challenge that counted at that moment. But now, and then you can go your own way, your own, make your own choices that, it's sometimes I think, oh, why would people want to listen to me? But then along the way, I learned by getting feedback, like, oh my God, I actually have a lot of experience that other people don't have. So, you know, and so it's value. And if you think that you don't have any value, I think everybody has value, and everybody has, something to say and something to teach.
Something to give to the world, right? Everybody
Yeah.
does. And like you said, you weren't sure if based on your experiences anyone would resonate with them. Guess what? I'm sure people really do by hearing your trials and tribulations of life. They're
Yeah.
able to look at that and say, wow, either they've experienced parts of it or they felt that way before in a different capacity, and they're able to see like the biggest thing we can do, like we've mentioned, is like we can show others by stepping into the unknown, which is the
Yeah.
scariest thing in the world. By stepping
Oh
into
yeah.
it, you can see that there, look, another step appears, and like you said, with like that poster in your bathroom, like there's
Yeah.
the staircase will appear. You just you don't know how the whole thing looks like, but looking back in hindsight now, you're like, oh wow, this turns out to be like a glorious spiral staircase.
Well, if you
It's
think about it,
amazing to
in
see.
it's literally the same with a real staircase. If you're in the dark and you know there's a staircase, you will take that step because you know there are next steps. Only you don't have to know what the next step is. Just know that there will be a next step, whatever you do, as long as you stay in the moment with what you're doing. And it can be really small, just like, oh, let me challenge myself just to see if I can be on a camera and start a channel, for example, right? Or anything else what you like. And I do believe that we do have, I mean, social media is full of people that are woke and that want to tell us, oh, who needs to be cancelled. Well, you know what, we can use that for the positive. And you know who wants to learn something, who wants to, I don't know, have a philosophical okay, I lost my English there.
Philosophical. No,
uh
you did good. Philosophical.
yeah, philosophical discussion with somebody, because many people are like, oh my God, you're from that channel. I'm just a normal person, just like you. And and just like I may have an opinion or a thought about something, so do you. And so, right, why not?
And that's why we're
So
on here now talking about it, right? Because the more we get to share, the more we affect the collective, right? By stepping into our own power and our sovereignty of knowing who we are as individuals, right? That's the coolest thing, because people say like, oh, I'm a reflection of you and you're a reflection of me. We're all reflections of one another. And as our vibration changes, right, we literally step into being different versions of ourselves because our energy literally changes. Then we're
yes.
able to then meet different people that are on that kind of frequency. The more you stable you feel in a certain energy, then and you can grow up and up and up, and literally the world around you changes. It's beautiful.
Absolutely. Yeah, because I started with the whole politics thing, and then slowly I just was gravitating towards the more spiritual star seeds and all that, and then
Naturally.
finding out a lot about myself as being a star seed as well. And before I knew it, I found my whole tribe, and I was like, I would have never thought of that when I started my channel, but not even remotely, right? And here I am, and it's only been 2 years, so that's how fast it can go. I would encourage everybody to do it because, if they can do it on TikTok, then you can do it too, but for the better of the world, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So then, is there anything you'd like to bring up and talk about that you haven't ever had a chance to share on a podcast before? Because I know you talk with so many different people. I know recently you just had an interview with James Gilliland.
Yes. Oh, that
So
was
how did that well? Like, do you like the route of interviewing, talking, or would you ever want to step into the realm of like creating your own content?
Oh, yeah, I always think about that. And I'm still a bit insecure, to be very honest about that, to do that by myself. Although I have done videos about myself and, for example, about my transformation, stuff like that. But I do like and I don't call it interviews, I like conversations, right?
Yeah.
I sometimes have people that leave a comment because, they like the person that I have on as a guest. And so that's how they wind up on my channel, only to then say, oh, you need to let him speak constantly, right? But this is not an interview, it's a conversation. Other people are really happy with that because if you go search for example, right? Take, for example, now there's Daryl James. He's a secret space program experiencer. Well, if you go search for his interviews, they pretty much all the same. And what I always want is to get into a different perspective because otherwise people can go to that channel. And then I actually put the links also in the description so they actually can watch the whole conversation. I just want to come from a different angle or ask questions that nobody has asked. And I never prepare anything. It just goes spontaneous. And that's what many people are on my channel. They love that. And also because I do, you know, point them to the other interviews that these people have done. So, they don't feel like they missed out or something. And it's very interesting because, you know, I do believe many of these, talks that they're a lot the same. And so what's the point of that? Right. So, and I like not to have so much an interview as a conversation because usually that's when things come up that are, more relevant, probably. Like
They
when you
connect in a
actually,
different way. I agree. Where
right?
I do like the conversational aspect because it's a natural back and forth versus like in interviews, like I'm just sitting here and listening versus being able to also expand and discuss,
Exactly.
right?
And then especially these people that have experiences, specific experiences, and you go back and forth, and then all of a sudden you get in a topic and I'm mind blown. But then people that look at the whole conversation are mind blown too, because you get to touch upon certain things that usually if you do an interview, which is just asking questions and the person responds, then you don't get to these deeper levels sometimes, and that's what I love about it. And yeah, I think people, well, obviously they're subscribed to my channel, otherwise they wouldn't like it, would they? But that's kind of how I roll, as they say in America. And and I love it. It's spontaneous. It's not ever do I prepare anything. I just go in blind. And
No, that's I think also a special gift though, because that's very like in a way of just flowing with like the feminine energy of like, okay, let's just see what happens, and then you're gonna just go with it, that I think that's really wonderful. And then you're able to trust yourself, knowing that what comes up and what comes through will be right. And people definitely like what you're doing because you have a following, and so the way you're approaching it is a way that resonates with people, and the questions you ask and the conversations that come up, it's just wonderful. So thank you for doing what you do with your channel, and as a fellow person who also likes to have conversations with others, it's great to talk with you and to do
Yes.
this thing here today.
Yeah, and I wanted to talk with you about the pyramids, the orgonite, right? We were
Yes,
talking about
yes,
it before.
yes, we have
And
them right here. I'll just mention quickly our sponsor for this channel is Merlin's Lab. And so they make beautiful orgonite devices. This is one of them. It's an orgone generator with giant quartz crystal inside. It's got custom made caps here, and you've got lapis lazuli and jasper and tiger's eye. That's this one, but
oh,
they're all different kinds. So yeah, we can just mention real quick. Merlin's Lab is the sponsor for 90-degree turns, and you guys can check out the link in the bio. And you can also find the links for Keystone's channel in the bio as well. But yes, let's kind of dive into that topic since do that
yeah,
little
so
spiel.
during my healing, I was actually because I learned obviously from the house where I had the entities, and then I moved to this house. And although it was a brand new house, so no history or anything. Well, I think the history eventually is always on the spot, right? Where the house stands, but in the house itself, it was. This is actually an interesting story because the week I needed to move, I was struggling to get out of that house because somehow something kept me there. And everything I tried to move to the new house, I got blocked. And so then one day I'm on the street and there's this man, an African man, and he starts to talk with me, really big and really black. And he's just really friendly, big smile. And he says, "Oh, my brother lives there," and all that. And I'm like, "Oh, okay, nice." And I was a bit grumpy that day because, I didn't manage to move and everything just went to crap. And so I told him, like, "I don't know what's going on in my house. I want to move and I have the key and I can't get out." And the man says, "You mind if I come and have a look?" And I said, "Sure." And so I went up. I lived on the first floor. He comes in and he goes, "Okay, this is not good. Do not get in the bathroom anymore. Do not get in the kitchen." And I'm like, "Okay." And I told him about a sword that I had, which is ancient. And I inherited it from my dad from my grandfather. And it turned, he said, "Where is it?" And because I thought about it and I didn't even know why I mentioned it. But then he said, "Can you get it for me?" And I actually put it on a latch. So I didn't have to look at it anymore because for some reason, all of a sudden, after all these years of having it, I thought, something is not okay. And he picked it up and he went all, I don't know, shaman over it. He just fell on the ground and he went really weird. And he goes, "Okay, you have to give this to me and I have to bury this because this is full of really bad spirits." And he said, "As is your house. So I want you to take your mattress, get your cats, and get to the new house today. And you can only come back after a week when I cleared everything so you can move everything over." I was like, "All right." In the meantime, he went out, he goes to the market because I also live where market is. He got a bunch of flowers and he said, "Take this with you and put it in your house where you are." I'm like, "Fine." A complete stranger, right? I get to my house, I sit there with my mattress and my cats, right, for a week waiting. And then he calls me, he says, "Can I come for tea?" And I say, "Yeah, sure." And so this man comes in my house, and you usually wouldn't like let a complete stranger in your house. And, you know, but for some reason, I blindly trusted him. And he got the flowers and he got some stuff that he made with honey and herbs and
A
all that stuff.
tincture or something, some kind of.
Yeah, and he got all the flower leaves off. He put it in a bucket. Then he put that stuff with it and water. And he said, "Get undressed and get in your bathroom." And I'm like, "What?" All right. And somehow I just did it, right? I mean, literally butt naked, stood there in that shower. I didn't even have a shower curtain, nothing yet. It was really because it was brand new house, right? And so then he starts throwing that stuff at my body and he starts washing me everywhere. And I mean everywhere. And I was kind of a bit scared, but at the same time, some kind of peace came over me. And literally, I don't recommend anybody doing this just out of the blue, right? Just use your intuition here. And so I had like honey and everything in my hair and everywhere, right? And he said, okay, get dressed. I'm going to make tea. And he went out, and I was so shy. And I was like a little bird, right? I stood there like a wet bird. And I put on the robe and still having these flowers and stuff in my hair and sticky. And so and I didn't have my furniture yet. So I get in the living room, and there's this box he made as a table. He got tea. And so he set me down and he said, okay, I cried for 3 days after you left because those spirits were attacking me because I kept them from you so that you could leave. And oh my God, I'm still really getting the chills when I think about it, right? And so he goes, so I removed all that from you. And now I'm here to cleanse your house. And so you can move in completely. And it's exactly what I did. And so after that, I've never seen the man again. His number is out of my phone. I cannot find him, nothing. It's all gone fully. And
Wow.
he did say to me, from here on out, you will have a great life. And damn if that wasn't true, because from there on, boom, my life went up. This was in 2014. Yeah, I
Wow.
actually get the chills if I think about it, but and
That's a very,
still
very unique experience. But like you said, trusting your intuition and knowing that you're in a safe place, that this person was able to come into. Did you know he was a shaman before he walked into your home?
no, nothing.
That's
Actually, he only
interesting.
told me when we were sitting there with the tea in the box. So there was nothing in my mind that I thought for some reason I could trust it. And there was nothing that actually kept me from. I mean, we're talking a big black African man. And I don't mean the African American type. No, real bush African man, right? And he was so nice, but at the same time, I'm there butt naked in front of him, right? And he's just so you wouldn't just do that, and
No,
I did.
yeah.
And so the fact that after that I could not
But there
find him
was
in
a
my
safe
phone.
place though that you didn't feel like this was an intrusion of anything. It was just this was part of the process of the healing and the letting go of whatever was around you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so then I moved in, and so my house was all fine, and everything went well. And but I did need it to. I felt that I did need to also kept protecting myself, and so I started using the organite, right? And I bought them and bought them and bought them, and I got them all over my house. And ever since, everybody, literally everybody comes in my house, they always say, I don't know, it's so peaceful and quiet here. And in the other house, it was, I mean, I cannot even begin to explain what happened in the house. It was horrific. The anxiety was terrible. I always felt like I was kept from going outside. Now, it turns out there were entities there that were possessive over me, and they kept me there, hooked in that house. Everybody that came in literally went nuts. They became aggressive towards me. And so they were constantly sent out, and by way of fighting with me. And I was desperate at the time. So that day when I was downstairs, I was at the end of my ropes because I wanted to move to the new house so badly. And so that man was my savior. And the fact that I cannot even remember his name right after that and not find him in my phone anymore, nothing. I have no clue if that man was ever even real.
But your
Yeah.
experience was, right? And the
Oh,
impact
yeah.
that has happened since then. I mean, that's a very incredible story. I've never heard a story like that in my life, ever.
Yeah.
Ever. And
I
I've
mean,
been around the world talking to people. This is amazing. It's a very, very unusual but incredible story that you were able to then change your life, move from the place. Were you in that the old place a long time?
for 9 years, yeah.
Nine
And it was
years.
9 years of
Wow.
total hell. I cannot even explain how terrible everything that could go wrong in my life went wrong. And it wasn't that strange because eventually I actually in 2017, that's when I had my first appointment with Eric Rains. I think you know
Oh,
him.
yes. Yes. I know Eric.
Yeah,
Yes.
Eric Rains helped me along because I had these entity attachments too, and they came from when I was younger, when I couldn't remember the first 7 years of my life. Only now I do, because now I know that I literally left my body constantly. I didn't want to be here. And so while I left my body, all these entities were able to actually inhabit my body, which they did all my life, hence all literally, and I'm now 52. So until 42, my life was hell, right? In all forms. And so, with that, um, and with Eric Grant, it was already when I was in this house, but I still had these attachments to me because obviously I wasn't used to yet to actually heal myself. And so obviously that comes back like a boomerang constantly if you're not aware of it. So with Eric Rains, I learned how to,
Clear your
get these
system and change your frequency, I'm
exactly
sure. Yes.
energetically. And so my house, I did that with the orgonite. And I could tell you that literally made a difference. I even saw the difference in my cats. And because first of all, they changed completely when they came here. I literally took me 3 months to get to know them again after the 8 years that we already were together. But they changed complete personality. Everything in my life changed when I moved, because obviously they too were infected by that. And so they needed new roles because one was always protecting me. The other one was always, it was love, love, love. And all of a sudden they had a sort of independence now because they had peace. And so they needed to find their own personalities, I
Different way of
guess.
being, yeah, because I'm sure they
Yeah.
also notice, because animals are very sensitive. I'm
Oh
sure they
God.
also notice the difference in you, right? And they're like,
Oh,
oh, maybe we don't have to protect her as much. Look, she's in a much, like, the energy you're emitting, the frequency is entirely different. So that
yeah.
allows them to step into like a higher role for themselves as well. Oh, that's
Yeah.
beautiful.
Well,
That's
the
beautiful.
change was instant from the day I moved in this house, but obviously I need to kept working on myself, which I
Yeah.
did. And finding ourselves, because remember I was just with my two cats and we had to find a new way to actually be happy. What is that? And so you fall off the wagon a lot. You try to find your energy field and learn about it and how to heal, which Eric Rains did for me. And then slowly I started to apply this also in my environment with these, orgonite, which I literally had. And that in itself actually did help my energy field as well. So on top of that, it protected my house and my cats, but it also protected me. So it was an extra help. And for me, that was amazing. And then I started with the crystals and all that. And yeah, I literally sleep with crystals. I even have a personal relationship with my crystals. It's insane, really. But yeah,
That's
that's
amazing. Orgonite is very powerful, and crystals, you can program them, right. And inside Orgonite, there's a lot of crystals in there. It's really, really cool to see what, like, even for us, we've put like a pyramid grid around our bed where we sleep. And I've noticed that in the dream space now, like I have having way more and very consistent different types of like really like intense dreams in a way that I've never had in other times in my life. And they're good. And I don't know if it's something astrally going around like in like the cosmos, or if it's because we've gridded our bedsides. And so it's
oh
really
no, yeah.
interesting to see like the type of experiences that are happening in the astral when I do go to rest is very, very interesting. And I know
Yeah,
before previously before we started this conversation, you mentioned about putting organite underneath the bed and what that can
yeah,
do.
yeah. And this was a friend of mine. Well, actually, it was a guy that everybody, thought he was like cuckoo. But this was I think it was in um, beginning of the 2000s when I met this guy. And he was talking about pyramids, pyramids, pyramids. And at the time, I was hardly awake. I was awake, but I was very open to anything, right? Because my life was so desperate. You're open to anything anyway. And so he started talking about this pyramid that he had, and he put it under his bed, and he was astral projecting because of that pyramid. And so he explained it to me at the time. And now, after all these years, I'm like, well, yeah, that makes sense, a lot of sense, because especially if you have these Giza measurements, right, which you can do in small, obviously, and you put them on your bed. I mean, the power and the energy field you create, and then sitting and then sleeping on top of it. And I don't think beginners should do that, because you might have weird experiences, and some
Be a
don't have
little too
any.
much to handle. Take it
Yeah,
with
it
in
may be.
steps.
Exactly. So you need to be very careful, obviously, not to overdo stuff. But, having just organizing your house itself is just, wow, it just brings so much peace, right? And well, I experienced this myself firsthand, and ever since, and I clean them, every so often, and then I use certain frequency music when I clean them. I even talk to them.
I think
So
talking to them or putting them out in the sunshine when it's a beautiful sunny day out, yes,
yeah,
it's they're
well,
alive in their own
certain
way.
ones, it depends on the stones. You cannot
Yes.
put all your crystals, but yeah, it's pretty much a matter of research. But yeah, I mean, you do have to give them attention. You cannot just have them sit there and dust, right? So every so often, I clean them all, and then I realized how many of them I have, because literally in every room. Well, it's not like I have many rooms, but in the living room only, I have like about five. And then there's the kitchen, I have about three, and then I have one in the toilet and the bathroom and in the bedroom, and so I collect them all and all my crystals, and I just work on it to
Take care of
get
them,
them.
right? Yeah, because I mean they're living beings and they have a consciousness.
Yeah,
They do. They really do, and personalities, and that might sound weird, but I mean
oh
they
yeah,
are living. They're living and they can like they're able to help you in ways that like it's just even if it's programming them to say, listen, every time I look at this crystal, I want to think of something I'm grateful for, right?
yeah,
That is super powerful for your psyche
yes,
and for your consciousness to realize and be grateful for the littlest of things. Because, oh, yeah, great big things are awesome, but just to acknowledge that, wow, we have a roof over our head, we're living in a country that it's safe and that, like, I am safe and that this body is a place that you can live and experience in a very safe manner. It's awesome. That's just
yeah.
an example, but yeah,
You
that's
can also
beautiful.
use them to, when you're doing meditation, I put them around me like in a circle,
Hmm.
and
I put one over my heart. It's
yeah,
amazing. The things
yeah,
like the energy, like that points, especially if you use like one of the pyramids, like an orgone, and you put it on your heart, it just like it opens you up in a different way. Different way. They're really, really tools. They're really cool tools that do so much. And so yeah, if anyone is ever interested in these pyramids, I would definitely look up Merlin's lab and um yeah, and we'll
yeah,
definitely have more things to communicate about that later. But you look as an aside, you look at the science about pyramids and like how you can like put a petri dish with certain like cancerous cells and you put a pyramid over it and it'll change. It will no longer
yeah.
grow and metastasize into cancer. Like
And
things are
food,
so
and
different.
yeah, food and water. I actually have the organite also next to where I filter my water, and I have it right in the middle. I have also organite over there, and it's also about intention, because intention is so powerful. It's amazing. Actually, I don't know, you can tell this quick, but I had a session with somebody, BQH session, and then the next day she had one on me. We were both facilitators. And so the first session I had with her, and I instantly knew where she was. And she was in Mu, so there was Lemuria, Mu, and Atlantis. And it turns out I could see exactly where she was. And so I kept asking her questions, and she kept confirming. And then there was a crystal around her, and she said the crystal is actually healing me. And she didn't know, and I didn't know this, but she didn't know anything about crystals. She never ever had a crystal, nothing. And so she tells me in this session that she actually have crystals healing her. And so that was interesting. So then we went to the next scene or life or phase, whatever it is. And all of a sudden, she was the crystal. And she started telling me what it was like to be a crystal and what they do and how they communicate and how they heal and, what they do for the world. And so that was really interesting. Then the next day, oh, and because then you usually go to the last day of her life, and that was just before she was a crystal. And she said, I'm not dying, I'm transitioning. And I freaking knew she was going to say that. And what happened there was the event. So at the time, it was the fall of Mu and Lumeria. And so what happened was that there was this flash, and then all of a sudden and I asked her, what do you see? And she says, I don't know, it's just a white light. And she couldn't go on. Next day, she has the session on me. And what do you know? I'm actually a man in that same place at that same time. And I know that she's about to transition. And I'm actually in a completely different role and picking up actually where she left off. And I knew what was going to happen. What happened was at the time, they went into the inner earth. Well, you call it the inner earth, but really it's a different space time place. I don't know how you call that, but it is still inner earth. So it's still part of the earth. But what happened was that at the time, people went up in their ego and they started creating chaos. But the people of Lemuria and Mu, they still had their vibrations really high, and that didn't work together anymore. So at a certain point, in order for them to survive, they had to go on there. And this is what today is Shambhala, right? And so in that life that I saw, which is millions of years ago, I actually knew what was going to happen. And the flash happened. And all of a sudden, I find myself in this massive underground cave, but there was water. It was so natural, but I knew what this was going to be in the future, because today that would be right the inner earth uh, life, where there's, by the way, many species, but they went in there in order to escape the surface and that ego. And
Preserve their
this
own
is
energy.
exactly to stay, because they were really close to the earth and nature, and that's how they healed. And so what happened was that I found myself there and I found her there. So I knew what happened after she saw this bright, flashy light where she couldn't go on in that session. I actually finished that part off. So she now knew what was happening. And all of a sudden it clicked for her, right? And so at the time it was the age of Leo. And now we're in the age of Aquarius, which is opposite of Leo. So what's happening really is that we are picking up where at the time the fall of Lemuria and Mu left off. So that's where we now at this moment in time are picking up. And so as you can see, we have now these massive egos. Those are going into the spiritual, raising their vibration, and those that stay really, really low. And so it's the same time, only now we're picking it up from the other side. So that's kind of what I found out in the session, which is quite a lot.
Fascinating. Fascinating. And very cool that you were able to do a session with her, and or she was having a session done with you, and then you're able to pick off continuing the story like the next time you do a set. It's very, it just
And
shows
then
how interconnected and the depth that you guys have together, and what
absolutely,
brought you together in this
well,
moment is also connected. Mm-hmm.
we didn't even know each other. We just did the session for practice, right? And
Yeah.
so,
Wow.
but then
Beautiful.
that same week, she said, well, I'm going to buy a crystal now because, I want to learn more about it. And, and I said, do it with your intuition. Just let the crystal call you. And she went to this shop and she came back, and it turns out it was a Lemurian crystal.
Oh,
So there you go. And today she's all into crystals.
yeah, that would do it. I think that kind of experience, that's powerful. Wow, thank you
Yeah.
so much for sharing. That is a very beautiful story to hear. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. It
Yeah,
was
I'm just gonna let
actually,
that ponder on that.
I'm still about to actually edit both these sessions and put them like intertwined, because then you can hear we both were at that same place, and I was actually at the place that she was in a moment that I already knew where she was and what was happening. And I was in a complete different part in that same village. And so, I want to make a video with both the sessions intertwined,
It's
because
together.
yeah, it's amazing.
Wow.
So I will post it when I'm,
Where are you gonna put it? Onto Keystone
on my
Channel or a different
channel.
channel?
Yeah,
Okay, cool,
yeah.
cool. Well, where else can we find you, Patricia? So I know you have your Keystone Channel for YouTube. Where else? Do you have any other websites or platforms we can connect with you?
Well, in case people throw me off, or YouTube throw me off, then I will be on D Live and on Twitch. And I think soon I will go to Rumble. Apparently we can go live there now too. And I have my website, which is awakeningtohealing.com. And that's where people can find me. And I have a Telegram channel, which I kind of share it also with all other content providers. So, they are really small, because I want them to be seen as well. And I think they do good work. So I let them, advertise their videos as well. So people get to know them. And because I think it's important that we help each other, right? So I didn't get here where I am now, even though my channel is still very small, but I still didn't get there just by myself. And so I always think, you need to give people a voice and a chance to grow. And so I do have then certain people that can actually post on my channel, and other things, all spiritual stuff and
What's the
fun stuff.
Telegram
No,
channel name?
it's also the Keystone Channel.
Keystone.
So
Okay.
yeah,
Okay, cool. Thank you so much, Patricia, for coming on. This has been a great conversation. I love the way it flowed, and thank you for sharing all your different personal experiences, whether it's with hypnosis or just your healing and all that. So, thank you so much for coming on. Everybody,
thank
thank you for
you.
joining us here. Thank you for episode 37, and we will see you on the next one. Everyone, have a great, great morning, day, and night wherever you are. Bye.
Bye.